let's bring on our guests. I don't know. I'm just talking as George Michael. You can put us all on, or you can trade us or whatever. I'll be in the background. Don't worry, folks. My Holy Spirit will be here throughout this throughout this endeavor. But we have the real reason that we are here in part.
The real reason for the season,
besides the holiday season, is that past guest, friend of the show, Jim Seaver, is here with us,
joining us live from a town,
the dinner party,
the town that makes cupcake shops on a Hallmark movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, Seaver. Oh, the hat is still on. Jim Seaver.
Yes, I am dressed in my best Hallmark Christmas movie mayor attire.
It looks great, and I love your school lunch program.
Yeah.
Poster. It's really good. Vintage World War II poster original, as is the one about buying war bonds or anything.
An original? That's amazing.
Yeah, well, when you write a dissertation on material culture.
Yeah, you get a little
familiar
with my.
Whoa,
Jeff
Debbie,
Morris!
So
wow.
Hype train incoming.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
It's a Christmas hype train this week.
Oh, that's cute.
Does that mean we get like Christmas emotes? Oh, there's Christmas emotes. We had a hype train.
Oh, did they have little? Wait, can we can I put a hat on the thylacine? I wonder. Oh no, it won't let me do that.
Maybe at level 2.
Maybe at level 2. Jim, you got everything in this background, from the vintage posters to the I'll say optically large glass of white wine. We tried to do. There we go. Not unlike the one that is featured in the
Jared Bear 315.
Whoa!
Jared Bear 315. Thank you for the follow.
Oh,
who could that
hell
be?
Yeah.
That's not Smidge Whisk?
Yeah.
Wait, what happened to Smidge Whisk?
Yeah, Smidge Whisk.
Yeah, brother.
I love the Yule log.
I love something else that's no longer like piping hot, and you might need to demonstrate to the people.
Yeah, demonstrate and explain.
As I was thinking, how do I prepare for the holiday special? How do I lean in on the Danish? Was it hygge? Like the coziness? Yeah. So I have my flowers, my candles, and I was thinking, what would George Michael do to commemorate Whamageddon and this occasion? You need an oversized glass of white wine so you can hold it by the bulb and kind of stare side-eye, like stare in Christmas.
You gotta like claw down. You gotta claw down on it, you know?
Yeah.
Like that?
No, he's holding it from like the rim and his fingers are pointing down.
Like that?
No, halfway down.
Whoa, that's what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll work on it.
You'll see the picture soon.
Anyway,
You'll see the picture
soon.
I got the white wine, and if you've seen the video, he's in a Swiss chalet in 1984. So I was at Kroger earlier getting wine, and I was like, let's go see what's in the cheese section. What cheese would best match Last Christmas, the video? And that's how I ended up with this lovely pot of piping hot, although increasingly less hot, fondue.
Increasingly, you better eat it now.
I mean, let's
we got the skewers. We got the skewers. We got the breads. We got
putting the baguette in there did like restart the steam in a very satisfying way. Oh boy.
Oh god.
I love it.
Yeah. Fondue, baby.
But most importantly of all, at AFS this year, you gave a presentation about the folk game Whamageddon.
A new folk tradition.
A new folk tradition, yeah. And that's how we kind of all came together here tonight.
And can I give a quick shout out to Carrie Kaliba, because I want to say about a year ago it struck me, hey, Whamageddon would be pretty funny for an AFS presentation concept, wouldn't it? And I was just like, lols. And Carrie was like, no, dude, that'd be amazing.
You were the
person. The more I thought about it, so she twisted my arm. She helped me come up with some ideas, and that got the ball rolling. So, Carrie, wherever you are, cheers.
Drink to Carrie. That was awesome. A great idea. And so, Whamageddon, we thought, well, what the hell? Why not inspire some folklorist investment in this folk tradition. Jim has been spearheading a wonderful Facebook group that many people have been on. I'm sure we'll hear more about that. In addition to thinking a lot of people missed the presentation who wanted to watch it, so we thought, why not invite Jim to present it on Folkwise? It'll be really fun for the holiday special. So that is what is about to happen.
Cutting edge holiday research.
Cutting edge holiday research.
Encore performance.
Yes.
Well, Jim, do you want to get us started?
Yeah. So, Dom, you're going to be running the slides for me, and I will try to make this as engaging as possible and not kind of like, this is my paper about what I learned.
God, if I had $1 for every time like a scholar with tenure started a paper within this paper.
Oh my God.
Stone throw. That's a very good point. And Jim,
okay.
I want you to explain the Whamageddon armistice for anyone watching this live stream.
Yes.
Or dare I say anyone who is watching this YouTube video later.
Yes.
In the annals of Christmas history, there have been 2 famous Christmas truces. This is the more famous one. We are actually declaring an amnesty, a pause, a timeout. If you are actively playing Whamageddon right now, for the next half hour, I guess.
Yeah.
For the next, you're safe. Insert the length of the video into Jim's sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you hear the song, you're safe. You're not knocked out. I am the official referee of the Whamageddon folklore community, which is up to like 60-some people now.
He is.
Yeah. So I'm declaring it safe. We're all fine. I'm still playing, so I don't want to knock myself out.
I'm also still playing.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Again, poll. Are you still in? You still in or you out? Folks.
Jack's calling you the prophet of Wham. I'd like to call you John the Waptist.
The Waptist?
Yeah, a voice cries out in the wilderness. Last Christmas I gave you my heart.
It's like these when I wish I could see the comments.
People are saying
right now, so we'll see.
As long as I don't have to play soccer for peace.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got it, Stone Throw. Choo choo for the hype train.
Yeah, we got a angry little snowball.
That's cool.
I really wanted that snowman.
I know. It's very good. Anyway, with that, do you mind hecklers throughout this presentation? Obviously polite interruption, but interruption nonetheless.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get the screen. Okay, Dom, I cannot actually see my PowerPoint, so I'm just going to trust that we are looking at a slide.
Yes.
Okay, if you want to kick over to the next slide that has a November 30th Facebook warning, that is my cue to get started. Are we good?
Let's get started, Jim.
Okay, so November 30th of last year, at the instigation of a small group of Danishmen, an off-duty American teacher took to social media to announce the following warning to anyone who would listen. Quote, "Bald eagle to Wham father," he said, imitating the style of a shortwave radio transmission. "It's time. The season of Whamageddon 2023 begins to engulf the earth. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. Godspeed." What new threat suddenly loomed large on the horizon? Why, Wham's 1984 hit song, Last Christmas. Next slide, please. You heard me right. For the next 25 days, hundreds of thousands of people around the world would live in sheer terror of being unexpectedly ambushed by a catchy holiday ditty that had solidly established itself within the Christmas popular music canon in the 4 decades since its creation. This is the Whamageddon Challenge. The stories of participants' daring do, their heroism, and their martyrdom are legendary. Next slide, please. For example, quote, "Today we went out for Christmas Eve lunch," an American player shared online last December 24th. "We thought we were going on a suicide mission. We thought if it happens, it will be in a blaze of glory." Against all odds, they and their partner survived not only that public experience where they had no choice at all over the music selection, but also a subsequent risky trip to the grocery store to pick up some last-minute Christmas supplies. Quote, "We are still happy to be in the game, even though we did very foolish things," they admitted. "We should by all rights be in Whamhalla, the honored pantheon of fallen heroes where Whamageddon players are dispatched the remainder of the game after they've been defeated. Not everyone could tempt fate in such a way and live to tell the tale. Given the seeming ubiquity of Christmas music in general and Last Christmas, the song in particular, in the weeks preceding the actual holiday, it's no surprise that the Whamageddon battlefield is piled high with the bodies of the fallen." Quote, "I got whammed by BBC News," one player in the United Kingdom lamented online last December. "There I was minding my own business, watching the news and eating a curry. DJ says this year's Christmas #1 song for the first time ever is Last Christmas by Wham. I choked on my Peshwari naan as the horror started to dawn on me. The table was in front of me and the remote was on the other side of the room. I quickly covered my ears and started going la la la, la, much to my family's annoyance, but it was no use. I heard the sirens call beneath my wailings and bought myself a one-way ticket to Whamhalla." Stories like this one are sadly common. You might wonder then, what exactly do the winners get in return for beating the odds and making it to midnight on Christmas Eve without hearing the song Last Christmas? Well, bragging rights and war stories. That's it. But maybe that, along with the pleasure of having avoided one of the holiday season's catchiest and most overplayed earworm pop songs, is enough. Next slide, please, Dom. As one person posted on Reddit in late December 2023, quote, "It's been 6 years since I started this journey, but I finally did it. I survived. This year has been crap in so many ways for me, but I finally did it. I'm so pleased with myself," another player wrote. "I know it isn't much, but every little bit helps." Given how emotionally fraught the holiday season can be, especially in recent years, if you know what I'm talking about, a little extra levity and joy are much appreciated by those who opt to take part in the Whamageddon Challenge each December. Now, if you've never heard of the Whamageddon Challenge before, or if you've been living under a rock for the past 40 years, because this year is actually the 40th anniversary of Wham's Last Christmas.
Wow.
Then even the holiday banger Last Christmas itself, or you're probably looking at me right now and wondering, "Jim, what in the white nonsense is this?" And you would be right, I suppose, to doubt the cultural value of a silly, low-stakes holiday game that the players take far too seriously for hardly any payoff whatsoever. But if you know me at all, then you know that I tend to overthink things a bit. And that's why I believe that there's a little more to Whamageddon than that, which is to say, perhaps there's a much deeper meaning lurking just below the holiday challenge's surface. Hear me out. Dom, next slide, please. I'm not the only one who believes that there's more to Christmas frivolity than meets the eye. In his memorable exploration all around the year, holidays and celebrations in American life, the folklorist and pop culture scholar Jack Santino reminds us that, quote, "Celebration, symbol, ritual, festival, holiday, folk tradition. All too often these are viewed as fun, pleasant, perhaps even beautiful upon occasion, but also as frivolous, never as primary to life. We should not be fooled by the comic and joyous nature of so many of these, or by their ephemerality, or by the fact that, outside of their proper context, the customs and festive objects may appear silly and worthless. Where we find elaborate symbol and ritual, we find issues and events that are of central importance to human beings." Unquote. Nodding in the direction of Eric Hobsbawm and Terence Ranger's 1983 work, The Invention of Tradition, Santino goes on to say in New Old-Fashioned Ways, Holidays in Popular Culture, that, quote, "Holiday traditions are continually being both invented and reinvented. In a post-industrial society such as ours, it is reasonable to expect that these will be manifested in the mass media and in the many forms of mass culture." What stays with me the most as Santino unpacks this idea is what he has to say about the concepts of joy and play in relation to the invention and reinvention of holiday traditions in contemporary life to suit contemporary needs. Next slide, please, Dom. Santino explains, quote, "If this all sounds terribly solemn, remember that, above all else, these events are fun. Recreation and renewal are joyous. Overly serious affairs defeat the purpose. These are pleasant activities. The heart of the holidays, after all the commercial and pre-holiday apprehensions and house cleaning and gift buying are done. Best of all, Santino says, perhaps with a twinkle in his eye, being creative with holidays also means being playful. Next holiday, next slide, Dom.
New Year's it is.
I swear I haven't had too much white wine yet. So, that brings us back to the Whamageddon challenge and all its tongue-in-cheek holiday splendor. In the time I have left, I'm going to unpack what it is, what's played, share some theories regarding its mysterious origins and explosive growth and popularity since 2016, and even be so bold as to suggest that a more daring agenda may actually lie at the heart of this absurd survival game, thus explaining its enduring appeal. Which is to say, I contend that Whamageddon, as an abstention from one small aspect of a much larger commercialized Christmas culture, functions as a playful repudiation of socially and economically imposed Christmas spirit upon people who may not be ready or willing to receive it. Participation in this competition is a mild, amusing, and targeted form of resistance against the involuntary imposition of Christmas pop music, especially non-canonical renditions of classic Christmas songs produced within the past half-century during the holiday season. As such, I maintain that much of Whamageddon's appeal is that anyone, regardless of religious affiliation or participation in other aspects of Christmas celebrations, can play along, just as they can also be eliminated by hearing the song when they least expect it in public, on radio, on TV, or on social media. In our increasingly secular society, this invented holiday tradition is ecumenical in a way that markedly Christian religious commemorations of the Christmas season can never be. By pushing back against Last Christmas and whatever it might symbolize, millions of people are brought together at Christmas time in a distinctly modern way. Next slide, please, Dom. Okay, so let's get back to basics here. I assume that y'all have probably heard Last Christmas by Wham before, but a little context couldn't hurt before we dive into the current rules of the Whamageddon challenge. Best known for timeless hits like the peppy Wake Me Up Before You Go Go and the haunting saxophone-laden Careless Whisper, Wham was an English pop duo comprised... I love how serious I'm taking this right now, just for the record. Yeah. Wham was an English pop duo comprised of George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley that formed in 1981 and disbanded in 1986. In December of 1984, Wham released an original Christmas song that George Michael had written in his childhood bedroom. In an interview last year, Andrew Ridgeley recalled, quote, "The first time I ever heard it, it was absolutely knockout. It sounded all the world like a Christmas classic. It's Christmas distilled, if you ask me," he continued. And then he said, "It's the essence of Christmas." Which is really kind of a weird thing to say, if you ask me, seeing as how the song isn't about the divine birth of the Christ child, but rather the tragic tale of an emotionally vulnerable man who gets his heart stomped on the day after Christmas and then runs into his shitty ex during the holidays 1 year later. Vowing not to make the same mistake again, he reminds himself repeatedly that, quote, "This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special." I just used my news anchor voice for that. I hope it had extra gravitas.
It did.
Good. Well, the accompanying music video doubled down on this cringeworthy tale of holiday love gone wrong. Filmed at a Swiss chalet in a snowstorm, it featured the two band members cavorting with their friends in the Alps while simultaneously lusting after a mysterious woman in red who had dumped the still very closeted George Michael for Andrew Ridgeley the Christmas before. If you haven't seen this video before, you really should. It is breathtaking in all of its 80s-ness splendor. And actually, I think we're going to do a viewing of it a little bit later, but with the audio off.
A silent viewing.
Yes.
A silent viewing.
Quite.
So we can truly appreciate the subtext. So, with a banging drum beat, catchy synthesizer riffs, jingle bells, and reasonably clever lyrics for an 80s pop song, the earworm tune soared high on the charts in dozens of countries, but always just short of Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas, which was released around the same time in 1984 and also featured Michael on contributing vocals. Nevertheless, Last Christmas quickly became an annual holiday staple on the radio every December and spawned dozens, I would say hundreds at this point, hundreds of covers by other pop artists during the past 4 decades. Whether you are in a store doing some Christmas shopping, driving in your car, or simply scrolling through social media in more recent years, odds were good that the holiday song that George Michael had penned quickly in his childhood bedroom would find you eventually, and then again, again, and again, in the 2 long months between Halloween and New Year's Eve. Next slide, please. Dom, is this the one with the German forum on it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure we're still synced up. So at some unknown point during the same, for all those who are fluent German readers, at some point during the same 4-decade period, some unknown people in some unknown country began trying to avoid listening to this overplayed song, and then eventually made a lighthearted survival game out of it with their friends. The rules were simple enough in the beginning. You hear the song, and you're knocked out for the rest of the season. Last one standing wins. The earliest mention of this then unnamed game that sleuths have been able to track down on the internet date to a German language online forum in late November 2009. The author of a post speaks in such a way as to suggest that the game had already been alive, well, and proliferating organically for quite some time by that point. Dom, next slide, please. By the following year, the game had jumped to the popular online forum GT Planet. It included a more detailed and evolved set of rules, along with helpful tips to win and suggestions for avoiding Rick-rolling style sabotage. Although the post was written in English, the author listed their place of residence as Osnabrück, a city in northwestern Germany. And once again, the opening statements of this post suggested that the game had been in existence for quite some time. Dom, next slide, please. All of this makes me dubious of the most popular and widely replicated theory in the press regarding the origins of the Last Christmas holiday survival game. According to a Danish man named Thomas Mertz, who I fear will now reach out to me and be like, hey, dude, what was that? Anyway, according to a Danish man named Thomas Mertz, he and 3 friends supposedly devised the concept circa 2005. Quote, we kind of realized this song was being played constantly over and over. It was just in really heavy rotation, he told CBS News last year. And instead of getting annoyed with it, we decided to make a game out of it and have a little bit of fun, unquote. But even he admitted in the same interview that, quote, the idea in and of itself, avoiding listening to a song, is not particularly deep and original, so claiming originality is something we're careful about. To illustrate, Mertz also shared that, quote, for years we got emails from a group of Americans, I think out of Berkeley, California, who play what they would call the Little Drummer Boy game. And they would get upset with us each year and send like a tersely worded email about us copying them, assuming we knew about them, even though the Little Drummer Boy song is not really a thing in Denmark. Hey, we all learned something today. Dom, next slide, please.
I also learned the German word is gewammt, which is amazing.
Yeah. Ich habe gelernt. My German is super rusty. Yeah. Anyway, so we should be on the stairs and Christmas slide.
Yep.
So the authors of The Invention of Tradition, Eric Hobsbawm and Terence Ranger, Hobsbawm's dead, he's probably rolling in his grave being quoted in this way, would hardly be surprised by the dubious provenance of Last Christmas-based survival games. They explained that the circumstances of a tradition's origin are, quote, probably most difficult to trace where such traditions are partly invented, partly evolved in private friend groups where the process is less likely to be bureaucratically recorded, or informally over a period of time. Indeed, one need not look far to find a host of similar survival games. The aforementioned Little Drummer Boy challenge supposedly dates to a group of Bay Area office workers in the mid-1990s. Before that, an iconic 1992 episode of the TV sitcom Seinfeld, loosely based off a real incident from screenwriter Larry David's life, chronicled a quote-unquote contest in which Jerry, Elaine, George, and Kramer competed to see who could forego masturbation the longest to claim the title of master of their domain. Shifting the rules slightly, we all know about the rickrolling phenomenon, and I hesitate to even mention this, but I'm going to mention it, although I got called out during the Q&A portion of my AFS paper for mentioning it. If you've ever heard of the game, where the whole point of the game is not to think about the game, a grad student was like, "You just made me lose the game. I had a 2-year running streak." Anyway, apologies in advance, or I guess after the fact, to anyone who just thought about the game and lost. Anyway, even my friend Tyler tells me that he and his college buddies in the mid-2010s used to try to trick each other into listening to the English rock band Oasis's biggest hit in a prank they referred to as Wonderwalling. Next slide, please, Dom. Because I'm a folklorist at heart, I also think it's worth mentioning that Whamageddon, which is exceedingly popular today in the United Kingdom, among other places, exists within a much longer, larger, and richer tradition of Christmas-adjacent holiday celebrations built around secular rituals where token resistance to the unexpected arrival of merrymakers is offered in playful social exchanges. I'm thinking, of course, of time-honored practices like mumming, wassailing, Twelfth Night revelries, and Welsh visits from Mary Lwyd, all of which are ancillary to the December 25th Christian celebration of Christmas itself, but nevertheless imbue the surrounding season with fun and good cheer among friends, family, and neighbors. All this being said, I would hate for you to leave this panel with the mistaken impression that Thomas Mertz and his 3 Danish friends were a bunch of liars taking credit for other people's work. Quite the contrary. Thomas Mertz, if you're watching, I want to give you credit where credit is due. It is they whom we can thank for popularizing the last Christmas survival game, codifying its rules, and imbuing it with a decidedly Nordic folkloristic aura during the past decade. Please let me explain. Dom, next slide, please. So the 2016 Christmas season was a pivot point for this challenge for 2 reasons. First of all, George Michael unexpectedly, and dare I say, rather ironically, died of heart disease on Christmas Day, which brought renewed attention to his music catalog as one half of Wham and subsequent solo artist, and sent Last Christmas soaring higher on the holiday music charts than it had been in 3 decades. Secondly, the Danes set up a Facebook page called Whamageddon to invite others to join in their well-established holiday tradition. I take Mertz at his word that he and his buddies had been playing the game with their friend group for many years before they finally decided to broaden the circle. But Facebook allowed it to go viral across the globe in only a few years in ways previously thought unimaginable. Last year, as Mertz told NBC News, quote, "I don't think a game like this could exist without social media," unquote. Shortly after the hashtag Whamageddon had racked up more than 11 million views on TikTok. Dom, next slide, please. The Danes, who by this point had also christened themselves the Wham Fathers, set up a website, Whamageddon.com, where they laid out the game in 4 simple rules, a suggestion to encourage social media interaction via hashtags, and an admonition to avoid decidedly dickish sabotage behavior that spoils the season of peace on earth, goodwill toward men. If you remember nothing else about this presentation, I hope you'll leave knowing that the game runs from December 1st through midnight on Christmas Eve, and that you're only eliminated if you hear the original recording of Last Christmas by Wham, not one of its many hundreds of covers. And now is when I say, as an aside, this speaker is particularly partial to the cover by the cast of Glee, and warns you to steer clear of those by Ariana Grande, my sister's favorite, Alanis Morissette, you oughta not, and death metal bands, all of which are quite intolerable. However, I will say that the pop punk and the reggae covers aren't actually that bad. Next slide, please, Dom. Even so, one need not look far to find tedious debates about the rules, clarifying flowcharts, and an abundance of memes mocking people who ask dumb questions like, "But what if I hear it in a dream?" Or, "What if I only hear 2 seconds of the instrumental opening before I turn it off?" On a more positive note, players have also adapted the game in innovative ways that have spawned spin-offs like Wham Hunter, during which players try to hear Last Christmas as many times as possible in the wild between December 1st and 24th, and Wham Frontline, I love this, which involves white knuckling it through the month of December with no evasive maneuvers taken to avoid encountering the song. Some Americans now attempt the game with a Christmas pop song that receives even more radio play than Last Christmas. Any guesses?
All I Want for Christmas.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. The impossible to avoid, love it or hate it, toe tapping classic. All I Want for Christmas is You. And across the pond in Ireland, yeah, deep sigh. I know that song. Ugh. I like it, but I'm done. Too much. And across the pond in Ireland and the UK, others like to play with the Pogues' gritty holiday anti-carol, Fairy Tale of New York. Next slide, please. There should be some random Vikings on the screen.
Yes.
From a folkloristic, Santa Jared just perked up. Like, wait, what? Vikings? Viking folklore? From a folkloristic perspective, perhaps the most fascinating contribution of the Danish Wham fathers to the Last Christmas survival game has been their imposition of a Norse folk overlay upon the game. Indeed, it is they who coined the name by which the game is now known, Whamageddon, and the mythical destination where losers go after they have fallen in battle, Whamhalla. Although I love the laughter. It's a lot. It's breathtaking. Although much of the Facebook page content is moderated by a volunteer off-duty American high school teacher codenamed Bald Eagle, the posts frequently invoke Viking imagery and overwrought epic language of yore, always tongue-in-cheek. Some might call it tacky, frivolous, and over the top. But then again, so is the entire Christmas season as it's practiced today in most cases. Dom, next slide, please. Whatever you think of Whamageddon, my prediction is that it will be bigger than ever during the current Christmas year. And I'd say, like, it's getting a fair amount of traction. I was writing this a month and a half ago, so I was speculating at that point. I've seen a lot of activity online, not as much press as last year. But anyway, with ever-expanding popularity and hundreds of thousands of players across continental Europe, the British Isles, and North America, the 2023 competition certainly gave some indication of this trend, with Wham's own Andrew Ridgely posting on December 17th when he himself had been knocked out of the game. The week before, the BBC ran a story about a soccer stadium DJ in Northampton, England, who was shamed into apologizing for blasting Last Christmas at a December 2nd match, knocking out upwards of 7,000 potential players. Oof. Quote, I never knew people took it so seriously, Matt Facer told the broadcaster. I gave it a spin, thinking it would be quite funny to wipe out 7,000 people who couldn't avoid it. But clearly it isn't funny, he admitted after being booed by attendees and dragged on Twitter. Facer declared, quote, I officially apologize to everybody whose Christmas I've ruined.
Wow.
Yeah. People go hard on this. Conversely, Danish Wham father Thomas Mertz has also pushed back against radio stations, stores, and English pubs that have officially banned playing the song at all during the month of December, admonishing them that it's not much of a survival game if the threat is removed. Next slide, please, Dom. So this year, to save me from tears, I'm playing Whamageddon with my friends, coworkers, and family, and I hope many of you all are too. The appeal for me is fivefold. I love that it's free. Fivefold, yes. Count them off. One, I love that it's free. Two, I love that it's silly. Three, I love that it's mistakes. 4, I love that it's a secular enough holiday tradition that even my non-Christian friends are delighted to play along. And 5, I love that it's a fun way to push back against corporate America's capitalistic, highly commercialized, and voluntary onslaught of quote-unquote Christmas spirit wherever I go. By gamifying musical asceticism during the season of holiday overabundance, I think Whamageddon is a holiday ritual that encourages me to play with setting my own boundaries around my own personal Christmas celebration without being derided as a bah humbug Ebenezer Scrooge, a terroristic Grinch, or a killjoy Charlie Brown losing his shit on his so-called friends during a Christmas pageant rehearsal. Next slide, please.
I'm trying to visualize a terroristic Grinch.
Isn't that really what it's about, though? He's tormenting Whoville.
Yeah.
You're going to take us in a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, as a sidebar, I have to say this because I am banned from picking what we watch during our holiday lunch at work now at my job because 2 years ago I showed the prequel to How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is called Halloween is Grinch Night. And in that special, the Grinch comes down from Mount Crumpet and like he's ready to just waste the Who's. You don't know what's happening. He comes down the mountain in the paraphernalia wagon, and Euchariah Who goes out and confronts him. And is like, hand to God, Daisy. Search on YouTube. Okay. Halloween is Grinch Night. Drop it in the chat. Okay. Half an hour, you can watch it. I love it. It is 70s psychedelic.
You know, I've always wanted to say this. I've always wanted to say this. Chad, is this real?
Don't tell me my childhood was a lie, Dom. I owned it on VHS.
Chad, is this real?
I found it. Halloween is Grinch.
It's so good. It's so good. But I showed it at my job without context 2 years ago and got banned from picking what we watch during holiday luncheon. So, anyway, moving right along. So the surviving Whamageddon meme should be on the screen, Dom.
It is.
Okay, good. I suspect that there are others who feel the same way as I do, but I'll be honest with you. The theory that I outlined earlier in this presentation, namely that people play this game because it gives them a targeted way of pushing back against too much Christmas too soon, I still haven't found a lot of evidence just yet to support that. I haven't found a lot of evidence to refute it either, I should add. But part of me wonders if I'm simply living in my head too much as a folklorist and imposing my own nerdy academic interpretation where one is not needed. Even so, there's something about the recently invented holiday tradition of Whamageddon that really seems to click with people across continents and cultures, and that's worth exploring more if I continue on with this project in any way. Okay, last slide, Dom. So with that rather strategic retreat from my own initial thesis, I'll leave you with better thoughts about the magic of Whamageddon, which serves as its own strategic defeat from one of the Christmas season's most ubiquitous earworm songs. According to Danish Wham father Thomas Mertz, quote, what it really comes down to is having the story and this experience to share with friends and family. That's what we're seeking on our Facebook page. Once they get hit, they share the story of where they were, what they were doing, how it happened. And I think that's a really lovely thing to see, he said. A British player shared a similar thought on Reddit. Quote, the stories that Whamageddon creates, knowing where you were when you got sent to Whamhalla, or remembering the friends and foes along the road to victory, those are the reasons why I keep playing, despite it requiring a paranoid approach to videos on social media for nearly a month. It makes the festive season even more eventful, he said. So I will close by saying thanks for that, George Michael, and Merry Christmas to you all. Cheers.
Merry Christmas,
Jim. 'Tis the season to not listen to Wham. And every other time of year is, but not right now.
This is true. And you know, once you've been knocked out, you can listen to it as many times as you want.
That's been refreshing. Refreshing.
Yeah.
Hand to God, because I was working on this project in October and November, I had listened to the song over 100 times before I reached the start of the competition. So this has been a welcome break for me.
Good.
Good. I can only imagine.
Yeah, that's the efficient way to do it. Make yourself sick of it.
As the current vehicle by which the Holy Spirit of George Michael has entered the chat. Great job. Feel honored to have been part of a band that everyone hates during the holiday, I guess, but celebrated.
Oh.
Huh?
I don't hate them during the holidays or the rest of the year.
No, it's just
the one song.
Yeah, just the one song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel honored to have a folk tradition after the song.
This is true. We could do much worse. I feel like if this was the gift that George Michael left us with, beyond the saxophone riff from Careless Whisper,
Okay, that's
then
very good. Yeah.
And
Merry
like the
Christmas
jazz hands in the video
Yes.
for Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Jitterbug.
Jitterbug. Bubby Like Soda in the chat says, I'll admit that I hate playing only because every time I see anything about the competition, the song gets totally stuck in my head, and I always have hated that song, so ugh. Fair enough.
Okay. Can I tell you something I realized after I did this paper and as we started, because I'm the ref, I see all of the comments on the Facebook page and the amount of anxiety that I have triggered in the folklore community.
You've triggered a lot of anxiety for
who are
folklore.
already nervous and rather prone to anxiety disorders. Like, even I, as the competition was gearing up, I was like, I just need to make it to December 10th. I'm the referee. I cannot get knocked out of my own game that I'm reffing. And like, I would get in the car and turn on the radio and be like, no, I have to turn on other music.
Yeah.
Death Laura says, I hate most of the covers more than the original. Jared Bear 315 says, I've noticed the song so much more now because of this.
You know what? I feel like this is my legacy in AFS, is just making people notice things like Wham's Last Christmas, Jello, Wine Mom memes, and World War II antiquities.
Notice these things.
Oh, Jim, I think that is as a folklorist, as a historian, as like a intellectual, it is a perfectly good career track to be on, where your thing is getting people to notice.
Yeah.
Like you could do worse.
Yeah, you could be getting people to. People are noticing and wondering. It's a good role to have.
I don't know if Andrea Kita is watching. She probably is not, but she and I both geek out over the film Addams Family Values, and it has so many memorable lines. But if you've seen the famous Thanksgiving play, halfway through the movie, what's the kid's name? Joel? Joel's parents are sitting in the bleachers, and his mom said something like 30 grand for summer camp, and he's Mr. Whoa. That's how I felt this morning when I woke up and was like, I'm giving a televised presentation on Whamageddon this evening, and I'm sure my mom is like, he was going to go pre-med when he started college. I could be a cardiothoracic surgeon right now. I could own a
kind
boat.
Of doctor. You could own a boat, but telling everybody about the spirit. Yeah, kind of doctor who helps you. Well, I think the sharing of the spirit of Whamhalla, and the folk tradition is perhaps helpful.
Yeah,
especially in an otherwise extremely anxious time of year for people in general. It's nice to have a bounded activity.
It's nice to have like low stakes anxiety, have fake anxiety. Yeah, like you were saying. The holidays can be intense for some reason, but it's good to have like a scapegoat, a thing to be anxious about that really doesn't matter.
Absolutely. It's it's just shits and giggles. So you can't ask for more than that. Like if you win, great. If you lose, well, you get a fun story out of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I have a
losers say this. As the competition goes on, I'm starting to have FOMO watching my friends get knocked out in really cool ways, and I'm like, it hasn't come for me.
I'm gonna listen to this.
What if it never comes for you?
So I have a question. I might need to ask a Wham father this, but if you like drink mead in Odin's Hall in Valhalla, what are you drinking in Whamhalla?
White wine.
Because that's what George Michael is drinking. He has an oversized glass like this. Again, he's drinking white. Not this guy, but
well,
I feel like you should lean out of the frame so people can see wine glass.
Well, people can't. I don't think people can see it on. I'm not on screen right now, but we could always return to it, and I could.
I can put you on screen right now.
For
Daisy has the background.
Yeah, so Daisy, because we might queue up the video in just a second. So, Daisy, George Michael is back.
It's George to you.
It's George to you, sir. And yeah, out of the way. So yeah, and the way he is like gripping that shit.
Yeah, he's like got the talon.
He's got the talon. He's got the wine talon. That's what they teach. That's how they teach you to drink white wine at Oliver Winery.
Cheers to that. No, they taught us to hold it by the stem. How dare you, Dom? But you know what? I always say, do what you want to do. If holding it by the bulb of the glass makes you feel safer, go for it.
Yeah. Whatever gets you through the night.
True. That's a different song.
Oh yeah, you're right. Jim, you're back. The mayor of Hallmark, having your fondue in the town that makes cupcakes.
I am out of fondue and I'm increasingly out of wine, so I feel like this has been a productive experience for me.
Yeah, it was beautiful. We had a great conversation about not just last Christmas, but about how, really how holiday traditions are formed, and share this with your friend who has reached Whamhalla, and you and George Michael will be drinking mead with your forebearers from now on.
Yes.
Jim, you got anything to plug other than the concept of Wham?
God.
All right. Jim would like to plug the notion of the divine. Ladders in the chat for God, the real reason for the season.
What is noetic? What is the quintessence of the Yuletide season? No, I feel like that guest who goes on a talk show just because they're mildly fun, but they don't actually have anything they're actively working on. Yeah, God, what am I plugging? I don't know what I'm plugging.
What's a lore and legend sign in Kentucky that the folks can see?
Yeah.
So lore is not in Kentucky yet. I hope it will be someday. But so I recently learned from our high school age intern how to use ChatGPT, which I've never actually tried. And I created a fantasy marker that does not exist for the Kentucky meat shower. If you have never heard of this event.
Meat shower? Wait, I know about this. Okay, tell us. Yeah, oh my God.
Yes. The short version is, I think it's like the 1880s, and you have meat falling from the sky in Bath County, Kentucky. So it can't be an airplane, and it's chunks of meat. We have some preserved. When I say we, I mean there are places where it's like a little jar.
You said this meat has been preserved?
Yeah, well, it had fallen from the sky, so they're like, let's put it in a jar with formaldehyde, put it in the museum somewhere. So I love that, and I respect the forethought, but I just said, write me a state historical marker about the Kentucky meat shower, and you know what? ChatGPT delivered. It wasn't great, but it was good. It was bisexual tier.
Well, check out the sign for the Kentucky meat shower. Ladders in chat for Jim, our Folkwise's official holiday correspondent.